Hello, my creative darlings. I am just getting myself settled here for our February theme, Love Chat. Thank you for those that join me here live, and for those of you that come watch the replay, sending lots of love to you as well. I know it's not always easy to get here for the lives, but this video will be saved and you can watch it later. So February's theme of the month is love, of course. You see a lot of talk about love this month, and romantic love, self-love, compassion, all of that wonderful stuff. Hearts aflutter everywhere, and I will say that I haven't always been a super duper lover of hearts. Just didn't quite do it for me, but I have really embraced it. I think because my word of the year last year was love, and I just have really looked for love and loving energy in my life a little bit more. All right, so love. The saying goes, you can't pour from an empty cup. And that is a saying that's been around for a long time, and for good reason. It's really important to be able to take some time to focus on ourselves so that we are able to give our best to those around us. This month, we're going to focus on loving energy and compassion on ourselves as well as for others. Self-love allows us to be kind to ourselves even when we miss the mark. And this is the part of working on your self-compassion, your self-love, that really strikes a chord for me. You do little things for yourself on a regular basis. Tune into the things that you love, set yourself some loving boundaries, and then what you get in return is that when you miss the mark, as we all do, because we're not perfect beings. We are perfectly imperfect beings. So when you miss the mark, you are not so tough on yourself. You can give yourself that loving compassion because you've done all of these things to fill your cup, to fill your well. And instead of really beating yourself up for when we have moments of missing the mark, you will extend compassion and love to yourself instead. And that is huge. When you are working on your creative life, it takes a lot of bravery. There's a ton of mistakes that are made during the creative process. And if you were to get upset over every little mistake or what you perceive as an imperfect thing, you're not gonna continue that journey. You're not gonna reap those benefits that you would get for bringing creativity and this loving energy into your life. So, not everything we make will be a masterpiece. This is why self-love is really important in the creative realm. We have to love ourselves anyway. We live in a society where we see everything is perfect. We see everything is polished. We set these unhealthy, unattainable guidelines for one another, and then you let yourself down. And then you're looking for approval and love from the outside instead of from within, and then you become a victim to your circumstance. So these are all things that happen when you don't pay attention to your desires, to your loving heart, to setting healthy, good boundaries for yourself, and loving yourself is pure bliss. Now, I don't know about you, but I know sometimes we can get kind of bogged down with all of the self-care and self-love talk, especially this time of year. And I know growing up, I really felt like when I would focus on what I wanted as a young kid or young adult, it would make me feel selfish, and it would make me feel uncomfortable. And I think that we have been conditioned that, if we put time and energy on ourselves, that is being narcissistic. That's just, you're just too into what your world is. That is just a crock of you know what. So you gotta let that go. You gotta let that just be gone, because when you love yourself, everything else falls into place. Everything else is just so much sweeter. Life is so much sweeter, and you'll bring more joy, and you will receive that loving energy back again. So I have some notes here. Let me just scroll through and see what I touched upon and what I haven't. Yeah, so in speaking of loving yourself in the journey of creativity, just know that when you're working on your creative practice, some things are just for you. You don't have to share them with anyone if you don't want to, but they bring enormous value to you inside by creating them. And you have to love yourself enough to allow those creative mistakes, those creative journeys to happen, and that experimentation. The most painful belief that many of us have, myself included, is that we are not enough just as we are. We're always striving to be better, or looking for how we can do more or be more. And then we're constantly searching, and we're on a mission for what is missing. When you love yourself, that is another way of being in this world. I used to be what I would call a seeker, and I was very kind of like, oh yeah, I'm a seeker. I love to seek out things. I love to put myself out there and look for different ways of being. I love to be a seeker of just knowledge, and then I realized that actually it was becoming a compulsion. Like I had to fill a void or find out more information so that I could be good enough, so that I could be better than where I was. And it kind of took on an ugly, very not self-loving connotation after a while. And I had to set myself some boundaries, and I finally said, you know, I am not doing that anymore. I am not seeking out how to be X, Y, and Z the best anymore, because really you learn as you do. And when you stop seeking all of the outside information and you just tune into what's coming from within, you have all the answers. You have all of it inside of you. You just have to believe it. And you just have to you kind of temper this not enoughness that we feel out there. And you know, that's just, we all, I think, are conditioned in some way, shape, or form to have not lived up to something in our lives, either on our own accord or on somebody else's. So by doing some self-care and some self-love practices this month, and hopefully extending it to your life in other ways throughout the year, hope to really temper that need and that feeling of not being enough, and instead feeling very loving and happy and content with where you are now. And one of my very wise creative mentors, Whitney Freya, likes to say, up until now. So forget about what's happened in the past. You can say, up until now, I used to seek for validation outside of myself. It's no longer my path. I'm choosing something different. So instead of getting yourself stuck in that world of, you can say, up until now, this is what I did, and now I'm doing this. Flip that perspective a little bit. This is a great quote from Sark. She is a creative muse, if you will, and she says, I think that deliberately occupying love is our greatest activism. Occupying love in the face of hatred or fear is our no matter what opportunity. Of course, it doesn't always work, and then we must have love for ourselves. So with that said, let's talk a little bit about ways you can just invite in that loving energy this month, for the month of February. So one thing I'm doing today is I am wearing hearts. I've got this beautiful heart bracelet that I created in the Great Bead Extravaganza for the tutorial yesterday. So I've got that on. I've got some heart earrings in as well. So I'm adorning myself with hearts. I'm wearing red. I have a beautiful rose quartz crystal here by my side, and I intend to carry this around for the month of February. I'm gonna put it on my desk. I'm gonna hold it in my pocket if I need it, and I'm looking for that energy. I'm just gonna sort of keep this with me as a little talisman to remind me of that loving energy. Have it near my space, in my home, somewhere where I can see it, or even in my pocket or in my hand if I really, really need to call in that love. So pinks, reds, rose quartz, pink kunzite is another gemstone that you can wear or have near you. And I'm sure there's more. Those are just the ones I'm mentioning today, but I'm sure there's more stones that would bring in that loving energy. So if you know of one, you can share it in the comments here on the video so that people know what other stones they can look for, or you can share a link in the group if you find some information on some other stones to bring in some loving energy, just to share that information with everybody in the group, and maybe somebody else has some other gemstones around or comes in contact with them and they'll be on the lookout for it for this month. An affirmation that I'm gonna write down in my sketchbook today with you guys is, my heart is overflowing with love. Another fun way, especially because we have our phones with us all the time, to remind yourself of affirmations is to put it as a calendar item and add an alert. So you can say you want to be alerted with this affirmation, you know, at noon every day of the week, or maybe you want to be alerted just on Sundays because you've decided you're going to declare Sunday your self-care, self-love Sunday. Put it in your calendar on your phone. Make sure the alert is set for whatever time, how often you want to see it, and then it'll just pop up just like a calendar event would do, and it'll be a nice reminder to take a moment to pause and reflect on that affirmation for the month of February. Whatever you want to create in your life this month, ask yourself, how can you create it from love? That's my challenge for you this month. I want to do a little meditation. So let's do So let's get ourselves comfortable. Get yourself in a nice seated position with your spine straight up and down as much as you can. And this is called the meditation of intent. This meditation combines 3 intentions to develop a strong and supple body, a clear mind, and a spirit filled equally with power, love, and wisdom. All right, so go ahead and sit up comfortably, close your eyes. And what we're gonna do for this is we're just gonna inhale and repeat one saying, and then in our head, and then exhale, repeat the other saying silently in our head. So the first one is, inhale and repeat silently, my body is strong and supple. When you exhale, repeat silently, my mind is clear. Inhale, repeat silently, My spirit is filled with power, love, and wisdom. Exhale, repeat silently, all in equal measure. So let's do that one more time. Keep your eyes closed. And then I'm gonna just repeat the phrase on the inhale and the exhale, okay? Inhale. My body is strong and supple. My mind is clear. My spirit is filled with power, love, and wisdom, all in equal measure. Breathe again. Feel the intention, fill your entire being, and then breathe out. All right. So we're gonna work on our magical self-love medicine bag in our sketchbook with watercolors. So get your stuff kind of situated. Here's my watercolor palette. You can pick this up at a hobby store. Very simple watercolors. Beautiful palette though, and I'm gonna focus in probably in some of the warm tones here, the reds and pinks, oranges and yellows for my page. So here I started my page here and just wrote at the top, my magical self-love medicine bag. And that I just wrote in pen. Now I'm using a pencil. I am all about adding these little energy lines around hearts. Just sort of expands out. So you could start in pencil, you can go back in colored pencil or marker, whatever you fancy. Just right across the top, my magical self-love medicine bag. And I'm using, just for those of you that might be new around here, I'm using a mixed media Canson sketchbook. This is a small one. It's great for like portability and just to kind of always have her with you. It's a 5.5 by 8.5 size, but you can work on any size you like. I wouldn't go much smaller, but if you want to work on a larger page, go for it. So after you fill out your title at the top, draw yourself a little medicine bag. You could think of this as like an apothecary bag. Maybe it's made of leather. Oh, look at that. That turned into like a little heart off to the side too, my little ribbon here. Or it can be like a gift bag. You can make it wobbly, make your wand lines perfectly imperfect. Maybe you want to add some embellishments around the bag. And now I just want you to think about some of your favorite things. What do you like to do? What things do you like to engage in? And also, have you given yourself permission to do those things as often as possible? And that's really the key, writing something like this down, making a little notes of what your favorite things are. We've done this in our journal before, but now you're going to make a visual representation of it. And you're going to allow yourself, you're going to give yourself permission this month to do these things that you love as often as possible. So think about, what things do you need to thrive? What do you absolutely love to do and could spend every waking minute of your life doing? What brings you joy? Surprise, surprise, I am going to start with art making, and I'm just going to make myself a little art palette here. Little colors of paint. And if you want to label it in addition to making the drawing, you can do that. If you just want to do fancy letters, maybe there's going to be some of these that are just not something you want to draw. You can just play with your lettering, make it a little fancy. So art is something that I can do forever. I mean, I just get lost in time. Things just fade away. All of life fades away, and I can just do that over and over again. So that's sort of the things I want you to think about. What do you do when time fades away? So I'm just saying art, and that really encompasses, for me, it encompasses all sorts of making, just creative acts in general, whatever they turned up to be that day. Something else I truly love to have and be surrounded with is plants or flowers. So I'm going to draw a little plant here. And maybe when I'm feeling like I need a little love, I can go check in with my plants, make sure they're getting the water they need. Or maybe I can go purchase myself a new house plant, bring a new plant baby. And I'm also going to put in flowers, because flowers bring me joy. As well as plants. And they both have a kind of different energy for me. Maybe you kind of think they're interchangeable, and that's totally cool. But when I think of plants, they have a little more of a grounding energy for me. They, they bring fresh air and oxygen into your space. And when I think of flowers, I think of more of the joy of the flower. They bring me a lot of exuberance and just make me smile when I have them around. And I really don't buy myself flowers very often. Maybe that will be something I focus on this month. Maybe I will buy myself flowers when called, instead of just looking at them and admiring them and then never bringing them home. Since I'm outside in my backyard right now, it's just reminding me how much I love my hammock. So I'm going to draw a little hammock in here. How that's just one of my favorite places to go to relax. Get some sunshine. It's right underneath my orange tree, so I get to kind of hang out under the tree, which is cool. I always feel like just a few minutes out there can change my outlook. Another thing in my medicine, self-love medicine bag is books. I'm going to draw a little book here. I love to read. I haven't really read for fun in a while. So maybe that's something I will think about. But in addition to just reading, I have a lot of like coffee table books. I don't know about you, but I have a lot of books that are art books or just really nice books to look at and be inspired by. And I forget about them. They sit on my shelf. I forget they're there. So this is a nice reminder to maybe go to the bookshelf. And if I'm not feeling like picking up a full-blown book to read, I can look at some of the inspiring and beautiful art books I have, or travel books. I have one book that's just all about trees, and just have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and immerse myself. Speaking of that, I'm going to put that one as my next one. And when I'm thinking about coffee or tea, I'm really thinking about the kind that you brew and then you sit and enjoy, you know, the kind that you savor and give yourself a little time with. And again, you don't need a lot of time, maybe 5 minutes, and that can totally pick you up. I have a few, I love my coffee, but I do have a few special teas that are handmade teas from local tea makers or herbalists, like my friend Kimberly of Joyful Roots. You can pick up some specialty teas and make it a whole little ritual. I'm going to call this a cup of love because I like coffee and tea. So I'm just going to say a cup of love. What else? I need more ideas. What are some things that you guys really love and are little things that would bring some loving energy into your day? What could you spend lots of time doing? Oh, you know what? Talking to a friend. Connecting. Walking. Yes, Fran. I love walking. Being outside in the sunshine. Good one, Colleen. Both of those are fantastic. Let's do a little foot for walking. I'm probably going to botch this, but campfires, jewelry making, Fran says. Colleen says campfires. Kathy says, I've been in the wrong place. Oh no, sorry, Kathy. This should have went live. Look at that funny foot. This should have went live in both the group and the event. At least that's what Facebook told me they were doing. So I apologize if that's not what happened. There's my little barefoot. Maybe I'll... my little walking foot. Welcome, Kathy. I'm glad you found it. I'm sorry if it was directed you someplace else. These kind of look like feet in the sand, right? Like little footprints. Go for a walk. It's such a good way to get me out of my head and enjoying the sunshine. I love checking out what's in bloom here in the desert when I go for my walk. And speaking of walk, that's just around my neighborhood. I also like going out for some hikes. So maybe I'll put a little cactus in here too. Little cactus walk. And then I think I'm gonna do, I think I'll do a little sun first and moon. Oh, that just made me think of something else too. So I like dancing, and specifically I love to dance in the moonlight. So let's do a moon. And then I'll do a sun too, and that's gonna be for me going outside. I'm gonna add stars too. So moon, sun, stars. Oh, sorry, Kathy. Were you commenting on the other video and I wasn't saying anything? Oh, sorry about that. One of my favorite things as a kid, and still to this day, is to look out at the stars at night. I used to do it on my rooftop at home, and whenever I would go swimming, like in my uncle's pool, I love swimming at night. That's my favorite, because I would just float and look up at the moon and the stars. And now I do that in my hammock sometimes. But it's really nice. I'm sure, Colleen, you know, because you go out camping. It's really nice when you don't have any light around and you can just really take in that nighttime sky. I'm going to say go outside. And I'm gonna say, Colleen says, Kristen, birds of a feather, we have identical bags. This is just all good stuff, right? I mean, so fun. I'm gonna Maybe I'll say dance over here. Dance in the moonlight. I like to dance anytime, but I do find dancing in the moonlight fun. And speaking of dancing, I think I'll add, since I got a little space up here, I'm just gonna add some music notes, because that is always a great way to affect my mood. I find music can lift you up. If you're feeling down and you just want to feel down and feel those feelings, sometimes it's nice to listen to sad music too. Or if I have to focus at work, I have certain things I put on that just sort of really focuses me. So I'll put music as I think my final little guy up here. I'm just missing a TV. Actually, it's funny you say that. My husband Bert was just away for a week, and he is a big TV guy. So we watch a lot of television together. We tend to have shows and stuff that are like, you know, how we wind down throughout the day. But with him gone, I watched so little TV. I told him when he came back, I said, it's been so quiet around here because I barely turned the TV on. And he was like shocked and appalled. I was like, I just wait, you know, I don't have it on until maybe I'm really ready to sit down at the end of the day. Whereas he has it on all day long. Like he likes the talk radio, TV and background noise. A lot of people I know like to have a lot of TV or movies on in the background, you know, while they're doing other things. And I was like, nope, I had nothing. It was just all quiet. I did play music, but I didn't put the TV on until like 8 o'clock when I was ready to like just sit down and watch something. So now I'm going to take my watercolors and color it in. And your watercolors are just fine to go right on top of your pencil if you used a pencil. I also use a lot of pens, just regular ballpoint pens, and you shouldn't have any smearing with the water. After it dries, if you want to come back and darken up your lines or darken up any of your drawings, you can do that with a marker or just even come back with the pencil again. Yeah, I think that's common, Fran. I think a lot of people like to have noise. I think I really thrive in silence a lot of the time. So I'm kind of, I get a little upset sometimes if noise has been going on consistently for too long. I kind of get like, oh my gosh, everything has to go off. I have to shut off everything. I need silence. So now I'm just going to color in my drawings with some watercolor. You can use markers, you can use colored pencils. Oh, good. You were getting right into it, Kathy. You were doing that with the other video. So you know the drill. You've been to enough of my videos, huh? So you just got going right off the bat. I love to color in little drawings like this with watercolor because you don't need a lot of watercolor to really just perk it up. Fran is using watercolor. She hasn't done that since you were as a child. Isn't it so fun? I love it. It took me a while to kind of get comfortable with watercolors. I'm so used to painting with acrylics, but when it comes to my sketchbooks, I think it's the portability of it. You can travel really easily with just a sketchbook and a little thing of watercolors, and the quickness. So whenever I'm working on my pages in my sketchbook, I tend to reach for watercolors more often. And now I got to figure out what color. I think I'm going to make, maybe I'll change my book color. I think I'm going to make my medicine bag pink because I am just embracing the pink this month. Start by going, I'm going to go all the way around the outside first. And you can also put water on your paper before you pick up any color. I've been dipping my brush in water, picking up color, and then going on my paper. But you can also just wet some areas around and then pick up the color and let it flow and kind of drip around a little bit more. That'll be less controlled if you wet your paper first, but may make some really fun, happy little accidents. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of red, or maybe a darker pink, and just put that behind this to create a little depth there. Kathy's gonna, yeah. So we are just creating a magical self-love medicine bag of goodies, and I'll probably be stopping in a few minutes, and then you can go back and watch the replay. I'm gonna pull some oracle cards in just a moment, Kathy. So if you want to stick around, if you want me to pull you an oracle card, I'll do that in just a sec. Little desert feet. See, I had a little happy accident happen there, and I'm just going to add more water and just let it kind of move around a little bit. Totally cool. Just pouring love into everything you do, letting it letting it be perfectly imperfect. Maybe I'll add a little more orange up here now since I got some orange down there. All right, so I'm gonna let my page dry. You can even go on the outside too if you wanted to kind of color around it. I'll let my page dry, and then I have a pen like this, which is called a Micron pen, and I'm just gonna come back and outline some of my lines where I might want to add some more details or something back in. You can do that with your pencil too, or if you have a pen, sometimes pens are a little easier than others to go on top of the watercolor. So you might just want to test it out. Oh, we got a little purple over there too. Fun. All right, so there's my magical self-love medicine bag. I hope you guys have created something really awesome on your end that you can refer to and go back and look at when you're needing some loving energy this month. Let me back this up a little. I'm challenging you guys to think about the things that you love to do dearly and to do them as often as possible this month, and see how that feels. See how that feels at the end of the month when you give yourself permission to do as many of these things as possible. So those of you that are here, thank you so much for joining me live. Had such a good time. I wasn't sure going into this exactly what I was going to do, but I knew I had gathered a whole bunch of stuff. And I think what turned out and what transpired was exactly what needed to. Let's just love ourselves a little harder this month, show ourselves more compassion, write down all the things that we love to do, and make a promise to do them. Right?